So hello from Green-Mopeds at Strawberry Hill. So today we're going to give you a static review of the Niu NGT, which is the flagship bike of the Niu range, for now at least, from Niu Mobility out of China. We're just lining up here against the next models in the range, the M Plus in blue there and the N1S in grey at the end. As you can see, the NGT and the N1S are essentially the same bike from a frame perspective and overall look, but there are some subtle differences which we'll highlight as we go around the bike. The first thing to say is that this bike is a 125cc category bike, so you would need either a CBT plus L plates or an A1 or greater license to ride it. Certainly if you want to take a pillion, which this bike is perfectly capable of doing, you would need an A1 license at least. But you can ride this on a car license with CBT and L plates. That's essentially the way to look at it. Okay, so as I said, it does 47 miles an hour top speed. It's got a 3 kilowatt hub motor, which is actually in the rear wheel. So here it is down here. These hub motors are very efficient. You get usually about 90+% of the energy putting in translated into power, which is better than if you compare it to a petrol bike, for example. You can also see that it's got disc brakes, it's got discs front and back. Okay. The one thing to point out on the video with regards to the rear wheel is that you can just see down here there is this lead that goes into the rear wheel. That would need to be sort of dealt with if you ever wanted to change the rear tyre. So essentially that means that whoever's doing that would have to unclip the cable from inside the actual bike itself to be able to take the rear wheel off. So that is something that you need to consider. Here you see you've got the clips for the rear passenger if you want to take them. With all Niu bikes you have this halo front light, LED front light. It's their sort of symbol called halo. On the dash itself you can see here that there are actually 2 batteries. We'll show you those in a second. As you see also it says it's cloud connected, which Niu make a big thing about their app and what this can actually provide to you. And there are essentially 2 features that the app allows you to do. One is it allows you to track the bike. So here you can see there is a GPS and GSM connection being made. So in other words, if someone were to actually ride off with this bike, you could just look up where they're taking it to on the app and actually follow them in real time. Okay, and the second thing it allows you to do is actually check the bike. So by that we mean the electronics. Okay, so there are sensors in this bike. There's a battery management system obviously, and lots of parts that control how the bike works and the transfer of power to the motor and all those sorts of things. And the app allows you to actually check that remotely, even if the bike was off. Okay, so one of the things to consider is if you ever have a problem with the bike, the first thing that dealers like ourselves will ask you to do is actually run the app to see what error message, if any, comes up. And on the app itself it also tells you what the error codes mean. Most of the time the result of that will probably be that you actually contact us and we will help you out with that. But it is just a mark of the sophistication of the app itself. Other brands are looking into catching up with this feature. So Super Socko, for example, on their TC Max, which we have over here, they also are bringing out an app. It's not as good yet as the Niu app, but it is getting there. It also is allowing you to track the bike and to do status checking and checking the main electronics of the bike. But it is a useful feature, although probably not the reason to buy the bike itself. Okay, so yeah, just looking back at the dash, here you have the different modes. So as you can see at the moment it's in dynamic. That will give you 28 miles an hour. Okay, and you can just change the modes just by switching through these buttons. You don't have to release the throttle, or there's no clutch obviously. It's just essentially enabling more power through to the bike. So this would get you to about 15 miles an hour in e-save, 28 miles an hour, and then 45, 46 in top. This bike comes with 2 batteries, and it is possible to ride with just 1 battery. And what that means is you can basically take out this battery from here. Okay, this battery, I'll come back to that, but this battery is a 60 volt 35 amp hour battery. Compare that to the N1S over here, which only has a 29 amp hour battery. Obviously it needs more power to drive a bigger weight. This is another 11 kilos at least heavier than the N1S, also to give you more speed, so therefore the battery is more powerful. Okay, the second battery is underneath the floor, which I can show you. You essentially flick that key fob. So let's do that, undo that, and then this mat comes up here. Okay, and there is your second battery. Okay. One thing to note, obviously, about these electric bikes is because the batteries are removable, you can simply plug them into a wall. It will take about 5 to 6 hours to charge. You can either charge the batteries both together on the bike through with the lid closed by running your lead through here and plugging it in there, or you can take the batteries out, and the charger has a splitter on it which allows you to actually charge both batteries off the bike from one 13 amp plug. Okay. They are, as I said, they're about 11 kilos each to carry. Okay, so let's just plug that back in there. Okay, so as you can see, quite a light show when you turn it on. So just to cover off this point about these modes. So the bike obviously has 2 batteries, but you can ride the battery with the bike with 1 battery removed, and the way you do that is simply lift out the battery. It's 11 kilos, as we said, and there's some space. It wouldn't be enough to take a full face helmet, but it would take possibly an open face. But if you were to do that, you can still ride the bike. Obviously on the dashboard it will show that one of these batteries is no longer connected, but also it will limit your power and therefore your speed. So if you only had 1 battery, you could only get into mode 2, or dynamic as it's called. In other words, your speed will be limited to 28 miles an hour. Okay. So while we're here, just to show you, obviously you get a bit of storage space, you get a USB slot to charge your phone, and you can get a new branded phone holder if you wanted to, and the way you'd fit that is you unscrew this, then take out the actual mirror, put in your mobile phone holder, and then retighten it, and then you've got a mobile phone holder that sits here, in fact like that one. Okay. Just to really, as a comparison, so this is obviously the dashboard of the NGT. If you look at one of the differences between that and the N1S, you see a much simpler non-colour dashboard of the N1S. Okay. Okay, so essentially that's it. As I said, top speed is 47. You can get there in about 13 seconds from the test that we did. Range is, they say, up to 80-mile range. I wouldn't necessarily say that is really achievable. I would be safer to say more like 60, obviously with both the batteries. Charging time, as we said, is, well, if you get the standard charger that comes with it is actually a 10 amp charger, and that should do 3.5 hours is what they're saying, but you can also use the N1S charger, which is only a 4 amp charger, and obviously that will take a bit longer. One final thing to say, obviously the design of the bike is quite modern. They all seem to follow a same theme. One thing that people have noticed is because the battery is on the floor, under the floor pan, the clearance is actually fairly reduced in a little bit. So it's only actually 14 centimetres of clearance, 14.5 centimetres of clearance. It's not a big issue, But some people have noticed that because of the battery being under the floor, that is something that they might consider with speed humps and what have you. The overall length of the bike is 1.8 meters, so you know, not the biggest, not the smallest, but a nice design. So I think that's really all we had to say today. If you'd obviously like to come and have a test ride, then we'd be more than happy to accommodate you. And any questions, please feel free to contact us at hello@green-mopeds.com. Thanks very much.